404 Backfilling. 1. General. Trenches shall not be backfilled until the construction structures or appurtenances as installed conform to the requirements specified. The excavation shall be carefully backfilled with the excavated materials approved for backfilling, consisting of earth, loam, sandy clay, sand, and gravel, soft shale or other approved materials, free from large clods of earth or stones. Where pipe is specially coated for protection against corrosion, care shall be taken not to damage the coating. Where a trench has been improperly backfilled, or where settlement occurs, the identified section shall be excavated to a depth and length along the trench of 50 on each side and beyond the failed area, then refilled and compacted to the grade and compaction required. The use of sand backfill shall not be allowed. All compaction within the secondary backfill zone shall be such that the apparent dry density of each layer shall be not less than 98% within 2 feet of top pavement. These top 2 feet shall not be less than 98% for pavement areas of the maximum dry density at plus or 2% optimum moisture content as determined by tests on samples as outlined in Texas Highway Department Testing Method Tex 113E, unless otherwise shown on the plans. At the time of compaction, the water content shall be at optimum moisture content, plus or 2% points. See Table 1 at the end of the specification for an outline of the bedding and initial backfill requirements for various pipe types. 2. Sanitary sewer backfilling. Backfill for sanitary sewers is divided into three separate zones. A. Bedding. The material in trench bottom in direct contact with the bottom of the pipe. B. Initial backfill. The backfill zone extending from the surface of the bedding to a point 1 foot above the top of the pipe, and C. Secondary backfill. The backfill zone extending from the initial backfill surface to the top of the trench. Materials and placement for each of the zones shall be as described herein. A. Bedding. 1. Existing stable materials and laying conditions encountered at the pipe bearing level which are acceptable for direct bedding purposes for rigid pipe only are: trench bottom at bearing level free of water, muck, debris, rock, boulder, and coarse gravel, particle size larger than 1/3 inch, formations in the face of the bearing level. Coarse sands and gravels with maximum particle size of 1 3/4 inch, 1/3/4, various graded sands and gravels containing small percentages of fines, generally granular and non-cohesive, either wet or dry, fine sands and clayey gravels, fine sand, sand-clay mixtures, and gravel-clay mixtures. 2. Existing unstable materials and laying conditions encountered at the pipe bearing level which are not acceptable for bedding purposes are: water, silt, muck, trash, clay, or debris at trench bottom or bearing level, or rock, boulder, or coarse gravel, particle size larger than 1 3/4 inch, formations in the face of the bearing level. 3. Subgrade filler. For flexible sewer pipe to be placed on all types of materials, or for rigid sewer pipe to be placed where unacceptable materials as defined in item 2A. 2. Bedding exist at the bearing level, the material shall be removed, as directed by the field representative, and replaced to a minimum depth of 6 inches, 6, or 1/8 of the outside diameter of the pipe, whichever is greater, as directed by the field representative, with subgrade filler material over the full width of the excavation between the undisturbed trench walls. The subgrade filler material shall extend up the sides of the pipe sufficient to embed the lower quadrant of the pipe. Gravel subgrade filler material shall conform to the requirements of item number 410, subgrade filler. 4. Bedding material. The existing material at the bearing level shall be removed and replaced to a minimum depth of 6 inches or 1/8 inch of the outside diameter of the pipe, whichever is greater, with bedding material. The bedding material shall extend up the sides of the pipe sufficient to embed the lower quadrant of the pipe. The bedding material shall be composed of well-graded, crushed stone or gravel conforming to the following requirements unless modified by the engineer. Sewer gravel percent passing 1/2 inch sieve 100 passing 1 inch sieve 95 to 100 passing 3/8 inch sieve 25 to 60 passing number 4 sieve 0 to 10 passing number 8 sieve 0 to 5. Payment for additional excavation must be approved by the inspector. 5. Over excavation. Where the trench bottom has been over-excavated beyond the limits defined in this specification due to blasting or removal or unstable material, the pipe shall be concrete encased. Encasement shall extend from the trench wall to trench wall and be a minimum of 6 inches above the top of pipe, conforming to item 407. No separate pay item. 6. Reduced excavation. Where the trench bottom is not excavated in accordance with the specification due to rock or other hard underlying materials, then the pipe shall be concrete encased on all sides and to a minimum of 6 inches above the top of pipe in conformance to item 407. 7. Consolidating backfill material. The initial bedding material shall be consolidated to assure it is incorporated from the bottom of the trench up top the pipe center line. A handheld vibrator, commonly used for concrete work, can be used for this purpose. The vibrator shall be inserted every 3 feet on each side of the pipe. B. Initial backfill. Where the pipe to be laid is flexible pipe as outlined in item 402.2.2, flexible pipe initial backfill is defined as backfill having a thickness in its compacted state from the surface of the bedding to a point 1 foot, 1, above the top of the pipe. For rigid pipe as outlined in item 402.2.1, rigid pipe, initial backfill is defined as backfill having a thickness in its compacted state from the surface of the bedding to a point 12 inches, 12, above the top of the pipe. Initial backfill shall be constructed in accordance with details shown on the plans and these specifications. 1. Select initial backfill. Where pipe is to be laid in a rock cut or where rock, boulder, or coarse gravel, particle size larger than 1 3/4 inch, formations exist in the initial backfill zone, or where trench walls or materials are unstable as defined by item 2A. 2. Bedding or where the pipe to be laid is flexible pipe as defined by item 402.2.2, flexible pipe below, select initial backfill material shall be used. Select initial backfill material shall conform to the gravel requirements of item number 410, subgrade filler. For sewer lines less than 24 inches, 24, in diameter select initial backfill material shall be placed in 2 lifts. The first lift shall be spread uniformly and simultaneously on each side and under the shoulders of the pipe to its spring line. The first lift of select initial backfill shall be inspected and approved prior to placement of the second lift. The second lift of select initial backfill material shall extend from the spring line of the pipe to a depth sufficient to produce a compacted depth of material a minimum of 1 foot, 1, above the top of the pipe. The second lift shall be evenly spread in a similar manner as the first lift. For sewer line 24 inches, 24, in diameter and larger select initial backfill material shall be evenly and simultaneously spread alongside, under the shoulders or haunches of the pipe and over the pipe in maximum 12-inch, 12, lifts, loose measurement, to a point sufficient to produce a compacted depth of material a minimum of 1 foot, 1, above the top of the pipe. No mechanical or hand compaction will be required on an approved select initial backfill material. 2. Optional select initial backfill. Where the pipe to be laid is flexible pipe as defined by item 402.2.2 flexible pipe and unstable materials as defined by item 2A. 2. Bedding exist at the pipe bearing level or the initial backfill zone, in lieu of the material specified in item 2B. 1. Above, an optional select initial backfill may be used by the contractor where rock, boulder, or coarse gravel, particle size larger than 1 3/4 inch, formations are not present in the bedding or initial backfill zone of the trench and where water is not present at the pipe bearing level. Optional select initial backfill will not be acceptable for installation of pipe over 15 inches, 15, inside diameter or for installation of pipe within the 100 year floodplain. Optional select initial backfill shall conform to the requirements of ASTM D1073, grading number 1 or grading number 4. The plasticity index shall be not more than 12, when tested in accordance with the TXDOT test method TEX 106E. Optional select initial backfill shall be placed around the pipe and to the defined limit for initial backfill as specified in item 2B. 1, above. Flooding with water will not be accepted as a compaction method and will not be permitted. The minimum compacted depth of completed optional select initial backfill shall be 1 foot, 1, above the top of the pipe. Sand migration prevention collar. When changing the initial backfill from select initial backfill to optional select initial backfill, a 2 foot, 2, long Class D concrete encasement or firmly compacted, consolidated clay encasement between the two shall be provided for the entire height of the initial backfill. 3. Natural initial backfill. Where the pipe to be laid is rigid pipe as outlined in item 402.2.1, rigid pipe, and where stable materials and laying conditions as defined by item 2A. 1. Bedding, exist at the pipe bearing level and initial backfill zone and existing excavated materials conform to those defined in item 2A. 1. Such excavated natural materials may be utilized as initial backfill material. For sewer lines less than 24 inches, 24, in diameter, natural initial backfill shall be placed in 2 lifts. The first backfill material shall be spread evenly alongside and under the shoulders of the pipe and thoroughly compacted by means of hand or mechanical tamping. All compaction shall be such that the apparent dry density of each layer shall not be less than 93%, of the maximum dry density as determined by tests on samples as outlined in TXDOT test method TEX 113E, unless otherwise shown on the plans. The in situ density of surrounding natural ground adjacent to trench walls will not be considered in establishment of control density. 93% is the required minimum unless otherwise shown on the plans. Flooding with water will not be accepted as a compaction method and will not be permitted as associated with any backfilling operations. Density shall be tested in accordance with the requirements of ASTM D2922 for sewer lines 24 inches, 24, in diameter and larger. Natural initial backfill shall be placed alongside and over the pipe in 12-inch, 12, loose measurement, lifts and shall be compacted in the manner prescribed above for smaller lines.